The time is 7:04. I would like to call this budget committee meeting of November 15th order. If we could all rise for the pledge of allegiance.
November?
Yeah, sure, November. It could be January, November. I don't even know what time of year it is. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yay,
please
Christmas. Wanna get Christmas. Okay. So purpose of the meeting tonight is to hold two public hearings. One for the school budget, one for the town budget. We're gonna start with the school. The format's gonna be a little different this year than we've done in the past. The school or the town's gonna present some of the items that they wanna highlight, items that they wanna focus on. I'm gonna run through and hit some major highlights from the budget, sort of the big ticket items, big differences, try to get everybody kind of a feel of where we're all sitting and standing. But then after that, we're going to open it up for public comment, and the board is not going to be responding to any of the public comment this year. We're not gonna be doing a back and forth, we're not gonna be doing any sort of interaction. Our purpose tonight is really to sit and listen to the concerns and the commentary from the public. We will then take all comments under advisement. We will close the public hearing and then continue on with our budget committee meeting that we have scheduled afterwards. So just wanted to kind of set that out for everybody. And with that, I would like to start with introductions. Jill?
Jill Eldridge.
Lincoln Lavoy.
Donna Danis.
Owen Fran Gray.
Jim Stevens.
Carol Merton.
Karen Quinn.
And Bob Kelly, Jeff and Charlotte are all excused absences this evening. Sue, I believe you're kicking us off.
Sure, so we're open on our public hearing, okay. So, everyone here, we're just gonna be presenting our final iteration at this point, I believe. For next year's budget, we have, before you the list of warrant articles. We also have the actual, default and the operating budget, and so we thought we could just run through some highlights by function with the totals. And give you the warrant articles and some changes that we think we're gonna be making. And so with that, I would turn it over to Mr. Corey to just go ahead through the operating budget and pull out the by function and the bottom line. And we also have, of course, this year, one of our warrant articles, we have a teacher contract. We are giving you the tentative agreement, not the entire agreement, but it's the tentative agreement, so that reflects the changes which are summarized in our warrant article. And we also have a tuition agreement this year with Co-Brown Northwood Academy, an academy that we have an ongoing relationship with over many years. This is the succession agreement, if you will, to one that we've had for the last 10 years with them. And so that will also be on the warrant and open for discussion in your review.
In terms of the overall budget, the proposed budget is a 3% increase over last year. The default budget is a 1.9% increase, which represents a tax rate of $9.56 for the proposed and $9.44 for the default. The major drivers in the proposed budget were health insurance. We are adding a teacher to 5th grade. We are doing that by utilizing REAP funds, as the budget committee knows, as well as some operating budget funds. This will allow us to keep the middle school model in place. And at the same time, it will allow us to keep our class sizes as small as possible. The other piece, we are adding a new English language arts program. That program is being piloted. We're piloting actually 3 programs right now in the school. And the teachers will be recommending a proposal in the spring. We are doing that, as the Budget Committee knows, through the Capital Reserve Fund. We have the funding for years 1 and 2 of whichever choice the teachers make for the English language arts. And we are asking for that fund to be replenished slightly, because that will give us the balance for years 3 and 4 and 5. The teacher's contract is, as Susan said, you've been passed around the tentative agreement. We feel it's a number of wins for the school district in terms of we are doing away with the evergreen clause, which is a ongoing cost. And I think it, to me personally, it makes negotiating a little more firm on both sides when there's no evergreen clause in it. We are adding a professional development day, so an extra day to the school year. Teachers are doing duties, and there are a number of other small highlights in the packet that was passed around to you tonight. The board did a wonderful job in the agreement with Co-Brown. I think having the two choices of Co-Brown and Dover give us a really solid high school choice for our students to really figure out, what is their fit. Right now, we have 30 students committed next year to Co-Brown and 17 to Dover. So that is about what it's been running over the last few years. And I believe we're the second largest enrollment from the sending towns now at Co-Brown, which gives us a seat on their academic committee, which is really nice because it gives us a lot of input with regard to programming, and it helps us to plan our programming. The board is also creating an Article 7 this year, a school expansion reserve fund. This is kind of looking at our enrollment and seeing the trend. We have grown significantly from the standpoint of not necessarily just student numbers, but from programming. Our special ed services and what we provide our students is taking up classrooms that we used to use for other regular ed classrooms. We can't forget that just a few years ago, kindergarten was half day, so it was one room for 2 classes, and now it's one room per class. We also have an extensive 3 or 4 year old program now that's in the building. So we continue to work, and we've had a space needs committee for a number of months now talking about that. And this money that we're looking to put in the school expansion reserve fund would allow us to just start that and start to look at more formal operations. The other piece that the board made a decision before we came in, and in your package you had warrant Article 8, which is the building capital reserve fund, which was $75,000. We have removed that, so that will not be part of the warrant. We did that based on a number of things that we've been able to do since I arrived. We've done a wealth of work on the heating system, and knock on wood, that goes well. We haven't encountered any problems. We have replaced some unit ventilator units and other things, and we still believe we have the funding from last year's approval to take care of round 1 of the windows if we stay on our current budget. So that's why that was removed. Also at our last meeting, there was a lengthy discussion around the tuition capital reserve fund. And the concern was raised about we had money in the budget and we had money in this article. We are open to consolidating those into one. So if you wanted to remove it from the budget, that would be acceptable, and put it into the warrant article. We, after lengthy discussion with the board, feel that's probably the best way to go, and it starts to formulate that long-term trend that we talked about last meeting as far as these accounts gone. So, and then the other piece I just wanted to point to your attention, because it arrived between our last meeting and this one, was warrant Article 11, which was a citizen's petition for a tax cap. That has been vetted by legal. The signatures were being vetted by the town clerk. I should know by next week on the signatures, but it is a legal article, and I would say in all likelihood would appear on the warrant. The only other article is warrant Article 2, which is actually the budget. The numbers will not change, but I tended to go to wording that I had used in my previous employment. and the board asked me to go to wording that you traditionally had used here. So we will be replacing Article 2's wording, and we have the wording, just to be consistent. There's no real change to it, it's just one town's format to another town's format is slightly different, and the board felt it would be better to stay with that. So those are kind of our highlights, along with the tentative agreement that was passed around. I turn it back over to the chair.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the summary. I would like to thank the board and Superintendent Corey for all of the hard work they did this year. They came in with a difficult task of trying to back figure different accounting styles and methodologies and try to kind of bring us up to a place where everybody's comfortable. I'll just highlight a couple of points that go along with that. I'm not gonna go through the budget if people are interested in line by line. Happy to do something at a different time, but I do want to point out that a lot of what may appear to be either very small increases or that are less than expected, or very significant increases or decreases that are a lot more than might be expected. A lot of that has to do with just accounting practices, different sort of methodologies. Say, for example, the regular education, which is the first part's only showing a 0.8% increase. That includes teacher salary increases. That includes health insurance, dental insurance. We all know those items are not only going up 0.8% from last year to this year. If anybody's been looking at their bills recently, a lot of that is moving special education paraprofessionals into the special education paraprofessional section of the budget. There are classroom textbooks that were moved from one section to a different section, items like that. So if there's any confusion or clarifying questions, those are fine to ask if there's something that people don't understand. But again, I would like to sort of reiterate that our purpose here tonight as the board is to listen, to hear the town's feedback, and to take the advice, all of the commentary under advisement. And then we will be meeting next Tuesday, snow date pending next Thursday, to make our final recommendations and votes. Once all the warrants have come in, we've had time to digest them, and once we hear from the public comment. So with that being said, sorry, Sue?
One quick thing.
Yes.
Can we just, while the hearing is open in order to conform
Yes.
with statute, just read off our revenue?
Oh, sorry, yes, we
Is
missed
that
revenue,
okay?
thank you. Yep, yes, please.
So the revenue that is tied to our proposed budget for tuition from parents, this is tied to our CBA, and it's for teachers for the most part that are able to send their students to our school. That's 30,000. Interest income, 15,000, rental income, 1,000, our indirect costs revenue, 3,500. Our adequate education grant is $2,206,094. Our local education tax is $1,390,587. Our special education aid is 100,000, and Medicaid is 30,000. And then we also have vending machine sales of 2,000. State child nutrition for our food service is 2,100, and federal child nutrition is 27,000. And then just to make sure we get the total default number in, if I have that right here, we have a default budget in the amount of $17,663,736.12, and our bottom line on our operating budget is $17,849,950.11.
Thank you very much. With that, I would ask the school board members if they could please have a seat in the audience. And at this point, we will open up the floor to comments from the public. I would also like to remind everybody, if you haven't already, please sign in so that we can get correct names for the minutes. Any members of the public at this time wishing to speak about school budgets, school warrants, anything they've heard? Going once,
I may have a couple questions.
name and address when you come up to speak to for the note taker, please.
Good day, Chris Evans. I am on the 9 Martha's Way in Nottingham. I guess I'm just concerned that we had a 15% increase in the school budget last year. And our taxes went up about 12%. And I'm on the master plan committee. And we're trying to plan for a future for our town and budgeting, and is part of that. And I'm wondering what you guys are doing as far as planning for the future. One of the things that, when looking in the master plan, we see like 5 and 10 years forward. But what we don't know is what school enrollment numbers are or projections are for the school. So we would like to, I think it would be helpful for the public to be aware of what the projections are for the school, what the projections are for the growth and additions on the school, so that, we could actually plan ahead for the future, for our town, so that we don't have another 12% surprise. 12% based on the rule of 72 would say our taxes will double in 6 years. And that's that's very uncomfortable for a lot of people in this town. We have a food pantry right next door to us, and that's a problem. So, couple questions. There is, it appears that there was 804 plus or minus, maybe 805 students this year. And in 2015, there appeared to be 786. So we have 14 more students, yet we're seeing the school budget going up instead of going down. And so is there any sort of enrollment, any sort of staffing changes that are being had that would actually lower the cost of the staff on the school if we have less students or the same number of students? So that is a question out there. And are there any caps on growth that could be put in place to prevent another 15% increase? Is that in the in our warrant articles at all to protect the taxpayers here, especially those on fixed income or lower income? Has the budget committee discussed any increases to the tax base or even looked at the tax base in the town? That is a function of the calculation of the tax rate. Is that looked at all? So I guess I just jotted some stuff down. I don't have my glasses, so I'm kind of squinting here. I apologize. I'm pausing here, trying to read my own scribbles. so based on the enrollment, we've had like in the master plan, I get to look at all these weird stats, so they're kind of stuck in my head. So the town in the last 10 years has had 586 new people approximately in 10 years. I don't remember the exact dates on that, but so don't quote exactly, but 585 people in 10 years, and our school enrollment is actually the same or less than it was. So the trend is not to have an increase in students for increases of housing. So I guess in trying to look at, you know, like this master plan, and I have we did a survey of all the residents, and I put together a summary of some of the comments about the property taxes. And there's a lot of people that are very stressed out about it and very concerned. And based upon that, and you know, certainly the master plan is a long-term thing coming. It was last done in 2011, so we're, you know, like way overdue. And the committee is barely moving at a snail's pace. It's a lot of work. It's a real lot of work. But for us to be able to intelligently look forward, especially the budget committee, I mean, basically you have the town spending divided by the town tax base, and that sets the rate, right? Or is it the other way around?
No, I think you had it right. I don't know.
1.4 billion now, divided by our 20 million or whatever of spending, equals a tax rate. And, you know, I see a lot of people talking about the budget, and they're all worried about, well, this went up $10 or this needs to go down $12, but they don't look at the first part of the equation. And that's the growth of the town. And I think that's very important in the budget to look at that. And I'm kind of looking at that when we look at the master plan to say, what is the tax base gonna do? I mean, if the tax base stays the same and spending goes up 5%, then everybody's taxes are gonna go up 5%, the existing population of the town. So is there any sort of, I mean, we haven't seen anybody from the budget committee at our master plan meetings or at the planning board to discuss, you know, growth of the town, and that's a function of the actual numbers. So it would be great to have some input from you guys. It would be great to have some projections from the school as far as enrollment and future, so that, you know, we could look at if we need to control growth or have more growth, if we could have more growth in the town and the planning board. I'm on the planning board, by the way, and on the master plan committee. Then what will that have for an impact on the school and our tax base? And there's been some positive increases. We had condos up on Route 4, for example, and there's 25 condos up there, and they brought in an extra $150,000 of taxes to the town. And that's, you know, positive growth, and everybody's worried about kids in school coming in with this new housing, but it's not really happening. The statistics aren't there, and they're clearly not there in our town. So there's just like a lot of adversarial thoughts to growth in the town. Nobody wants any growth, and I think we need to have some budget people talking to the master plan people, so they have an understanding of that, you know, this growth is a natural part of the town. So that's all. Thank you for your work on this, guys.
Thank you, appreciate the comments. Anybody else wishing to speak to the school?
Hi, Thomas Bukevich, Washington Lane. So I just got the budget, so I didn't really get a chance to go through it too much. Just looking at the teacher's contract, because that's the only one that I got kind of here in front of me. It's good to see that the evergreen clause was taken out. That's nice. So it sounds like there was actually some negotiations going on, but I didn't ever notice any sort of public notice that those negotiations were open to the public for observation. Despite the townspeople overwhelmingly passing a warrant article a few years ago, demanding that those negotiations be open to the public. And I just kind of want to point out again, kind of the way that this the costs are listed here, the estimated costs for this approval of this contract. You know, it says year one, $247,000, year two, $192,000, year three, $195,000. So, you know, most reasonable people will look at this and add those up and think that the total cost over those 3 years is $635,000. But really, you know, what is being hidden here is that in year two, you're paying both the 247,000 and the 192, and in year three, you're paying the 247, the 192, and the 195. The total cost of this contract over 3 years is actually $1.3 million. So this is kind of deceptively presented to the voters here. I just kind of had some questions for the school, just kind of, you know, we see how much this is costing, but, you know, kind of just to see what we're paying for and what we're getting. Can we get the current enrollment figure? Is the superintendent still here?
He's stepped out. We do have an enrollment sheet though. We'll try to track that down. Does anyone have it?
Is it in our materials?
Not answering questions, guys.
Okay.
We're just listening, right? That's our job tonight.
Are you just telling them not to answer my question?
Yeah.
You know, I miss like the actual like budget committee that would answer people's questions. The previous gentleman got up here and asked a lot of really good questions, and there was quite an awkward silence after most of them where an answer could have simply been provided. It's kind of a shame not to hear the answers to those questions, because I kind of had a lot of the same questions and would love to know the answers. So if we're just asking questions and we don't get answers, then I guess I'll move through them until maybe the superintendent comes back. I also was kind of wondering, and this is where I needed the enrollment figures, I wanted to calculate what is the spending per pupil. It's kind of a standard measurement of, you know, how much school is costing. So I kind of wanted to know what the cost per pupil was for this budget.
Some of them doesn't change a lot due to special education and the needs of the special kids that are in special education, so if you try to base it out on 100 students and break it down. Oh, I can't, okay, sorry.
No, it's a public hearing. The
Right?
person at the mic has the right to speak without being interrupted or
Oh, okay.
talked to. Just
So,
clarifying the rules.
Just to clarify, I'm looking for the enrollment number, and then I wanna just divide the total school budget by the number of students, because that's how you get the no BS spending per pupil. I know in the past when I've asked, I get a weird number back that seems way too low, and they say, well, you can't count transportation, and you can't count this, and you can't count that. And, you know, we don't get to do that with our tax bills. We don't get to get an $8,000 tax bill and go, well, you know, we don't wanna pay for that, and we don't wanna pay for that. It's actually $6,000. It doesn't work that way. So I would love to know the current enrollment. Maybe when the superintendent gets back, he'll provide answers to the people of this town. And then we can figure out what the cost per pupil is once we have that number. That's about all I have for the school. I'm glad you guys got the telephone bill down to $2,000. I remember it was like $14,000 a few years ago, so that's really nice to see. Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Any other members of the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing for school budget. With that, we will open the public hearing for the town budget. I will go through the current town budget, hit some highlights. Not gonna go quite line by line, but the overall numbers, make sure that we're hitting the legal and contractual obligated numbers, make sure I do have those in front of me. The current sorry, I had all this earlier. Current total proposed town budget, which is subject to change at the meetings next week, is $5,444,698. This represents a 7.67% increase to the operating budget from last year. The warrant articles this year are, if all of them are recommended, would be in the total of $725,000. This is $317,000 less than last year, so the warrant articles represent a 30.4% decrease. And revenues and offsets between previous year and currently proposed revenues this year are estimated at $3,078,733, which represents a deduction of $2,000 from last year's revenues, representing a negative 0.06% change. So those numbers looked at in their totality show an amount to be raised by taxation of $3,091,965, or a 2.41% increase over last year. Overall, that actually shows a slight reduction in the municipal tax rate assessment, a reduction of 19 cents per thousand, or 8% reduction for the town portion. But I would like to remind everybody that even though the budget is going up, the municipal tax rate through the reassessment and revaluation changed those numbers, which is why that might seem a bit contradictory. Going through, I would like to highlight just a few of the main ticket items and the big changes. You're seeing an executive total increase this year of approximately 14%. That's being driven entirely by raises for the police department being included in this section as opposed to within the police section. So actually, when we get to that section, people will notice there's a pretty low number. Town clerk is seeing about a 3% increase. Elections are increasing significantly this year, 75%, and that's because there are 3 elections this year that the town will be hosting. So the increase in the number of elections from previous years obviously increases costs associated with that. The assessing number went down by approximately 20%. That
Skips
is.
finance, I think, at the top of it.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna start just skipping ones that aren't all that critical, but I will say finance is about a 2.59% change, slight increase from last year. The 19% reduction on the assessing totals is being driven by the revaluation not being included in the budget this year. It was included last year, so that's the primary driver there. Legal is level funded. Personal admin totals, this is where you'll see the numbers that everybody is feeling at home. That's a 14% increase. This is reflective primarily of increases in insurance premiums, dental, health, even our town insurance, Primex, for our general liability insurance, all of that has gone up quite a bit. Pretty substantial change this year. Going down to planning board, that's roughly a 15.2% increase. That is being driven with the inclusion of the SRPC funds. The Board of Selectmen felt this year that with a heavy turnover of not only town personnel, but also members on the planning board, that the support from the Regional Planning Commission was not something that they wanted to leave purely onto a warrant article this year, or to potentially go back and forth with. Zoning would be level funded. Minor changes in building, slight increase of $1,500 in cemeteries, primarily being driven by mowing costs and increased costs labor. Insurance, so here's the other portion that where you'll see the insurance premiums change. I referenced Primex earlier, that's reflected in here. That's roughly a 15.8% increase. Skipping down to police, you'll see that they are essentially asking for a level fund this year, just a 0.3% increase to their budget. That was originally higher, but as I mentioned earlier, their raises were moved from those line items to the general administrative line items, so just an accounting thing. But that explains this difference. Biggest difference to the budget that you'll see this year, largest singular monetary value is going to be in the fire department. This budget proposes a 23.5% increase to the fire department. That is directly reflective of increase from two proposed new positions at the fire department. A full-time chief position and a 7th firefighter. Building department, minor changes, actually a slight reduction of 1.7%. Emergency management went up, it says 50%, but also do keep in mind that that's about a $2,000 change, and that is for buying a new AED. Highway, slight decrease. They asked for essentially a level fund. The Board of Selectmen worked diligently to try to keep this budget as lean as possible. So they found a few places to reduce, few places for some potential savings. So that actually accounted for a 3.7% decrease. The road maintenance line is staying level funded. Solid waste is proposing a 9.9% increase. That's being driven by tipping fees at Turnkey. The cost to deposit our trash as it gets hauled away and dropped off in Rochester, those prices just keep climbing every year. Animal control, level funded. General assistance, there is a different methodology that's being used by the select board this year. They have I'm sure gone over this in much more detail in their meetings than I can. Feel free to review that with them or ask, but that's a 75% reduction. Social services, the request this year that came in from the local regional groups was representative of a 5.1% increase. Recreation, the total recreation is showing a 12.3% increase. That is primarily being driven by the I believe deputy director or assistant director, what is her title? Assistant director, her full salary being included within the operating budget and no longer being subsidized by rec revolving. Library is proposing a 4.2% increase. Historical Society is level funded, and conservation went up a whopping $75 for a 4% increase. All total, again, that represents a proposed budget of $5,445,698, or 7.67%. The legal obligation has been read except for the default budget, which if somebody would not mind helping me, I know I saw it 2 seconds ago.
It's at the end.
Is it at the end? Just wanna make sure I read that number out loud.
The D2.
Thank you. The default budget for FY '26 is $5,230,495. So at this time, I would like to open the floor to anybody wishing to speak on the town budget. Or, excuse me, I should go through the list of the warrant articles as well. Anybody finding it faster than me, so I don't have to
You
look
had a
through
list, but I don't think we got it right.
Did I not have the list?
I
You
don't
have the
think
list?
all of us got
You've
it.
been after the operating budget.
Okay. Thank you. Excellent. I've seen it. Excellent. So, Article 1 will be officers. election of officers, 2 through 9 are proposed zoning amendments. Article 10 will be the 2026 operating budget. It looks like there is still some potential to move the orders around, so the remaining items do not have specific numbering as of yet. However, it includes the ambulance operations, which is a $45,000 amount, but has a $45,000 offsetting revenue, so that's zero increase in tax to the town. Fire vehicle and SCBA capital reserve for $40,000. Police technology equipment for $10,000. Road reconstruction and maintenance for $300,000. Library parking lot paving and lighting for $50,000. Revaluation reserve fund for $25,000. Highway vehicle reserve fund for $40,000. Town building maintenance trust fund $65,000. Create a general assistance trust fund, which was what I referenced earlier with the changes to how the select board is proposing to do general assistance year to year for $5,000. Adding to the invasive species expendable trust fund $10,000. Police station relocation design appropriation to be offset by surplus. So that is a $50,000 warrant, but has a $50,000 offsetting revenue. And then there is a petition warrant for town beach access proposed at $85,000 with $85,000 in offsetting revenues. So at this time, now that I think I've covered all my legal obligations, I would like to open the meeting to anybody from the public wishing to speak. Again, please name and address, and then the floor will be yours.
Chris Evans again. Greetings. My first budget meeting here, so pardon if I am going about this the wrong way or asking. Should I expect answers to questions, or as pointed out, I did ask a couple questions before, or is that you guys don't respond?
In this format, in this formal setting right now, we're not responding, but if you'd like to put your questions in writing, and email them to the town administrator or myself, I will provide emails. Town administrator is TA,
I have.
if you have hers, okay? And mine is Owen.Friendgray, FRIENDGRAY,
Hyphen?
no hyphen in that, at Gmail. Gmail didn't let me do hyphens 20 years ago.
Check.
So if you send those questions, we can do the research and respond at that time. We'd be happy to answer those questions then.
Awesome.
Or I can redirect them if I don't know to the right folks.
Okay, so I was just looking at this, trying to figure this all out. Revenues and offsets, what is that exactly?
Revenues would be the money that the town takes in. And offsetting revenues is a term that we use for if there is money that already exists or money that is coming in to offset a expenditure.
So what are some of those items in that? What makes that up? What is that?
The town taxes is a significant portion, but then
The
there's
property
also.
taxes,
Yeah,
correct.
property taxes, but then there's also things like highway block grant. Apparently there's a list somewhere on a page I can't see that somebody's trying to very helpfully and kindly help me with, but I believe it's in the packet.
Car registrations, impact fees, building permit fees?
All of those things, yep.
Okay. What I thought, but I wasn't sure. Again, I don't, you mentioned, articles 2 through 9 for the planning board amendments. How do you know there's only 9 or 7 planning board amendments?
I know what's been provided to me.
I'm on the planning board, from where? They're still being discussed. How did they get here? Just curious.
That's an Ellen question.
That is an Ellen question.
I don't have an answer. But if you put it in writing, we're happy to answer.
Sure. And backwards, if I may be so very bold, on the school budget, I asked about a cap on increases for this year so that we don't get a 15% surprise as taxpayers. How does that work? How does that get it put into place? What is the mechanism to put that there?
You asking about the school?
I'm asking about putting a cap on the school budget. The question I asked before that didn't respond. How do we ask that question to whom to say, is that in place, and get an answer?
You'll need to put that again in writing. The school board hearing that was closed. So right now, we need to talk about the town budget and warrants.
Okay, is there a process to put a cap on that?
There's currently a petition.
A petition to cap the school? There is, okay.
Yeah, it's part of the packet, I believe.
Okay, and that's going to warrant article? Is that signed, so it's going on to a article to be voted on?
The school board mentioned it when their discussions, but they said that it needed to be vetted, I believe still, but yes, they thought it would make it.
Okay, so if we, as a taxpayer, wanted to, I'm sorry, I'm back on the school board, sorry, apologize. But it didn't seem to get a clear answer. If we wanted to know, like, why did it increase 15%? Was that a one-time expenditure? Is that a long-term? Is that a pattern that we're gonna, that's a new baseline that has been added to the budget forever? How do we know what that is? How do we discover if that's gonna be a recurring thing or is it a one-time deal?
Feel free to put your question in writing and we'll try to respond in a timely manner.
To you or to the school board?
You can send it to me, I'll send it to the school board.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry. You're gonna say something?
Hi, Tom Budkevich, Washington Lane. So first, I'm confused here. Is there no money in the budget for road maintenance?
There is a road maintenance budget line for $30,000 and there is a $300,000 warrant.
So because I remember in the past, we've had, say half the stuff in a warrant article and half the stuff in the budget. And I remember that a lot of the road maintenance and reconstruction money started getting moved out of the budget and put onto warrant articles to avoid the tax cap. And it seems like now that it's been clarified how the tax cap is calculated, it doesn't really matter if stuff goes on a warrant article or if it goes in the budget. And I think it would be prudent to start moving the road maintenance stuff, very important function that the town does, back into the budget and not putting it on a warrant article so that it can get voted down and we have no money to maintain our roads. The other thing I had a question about, in here I'm seeing, it's kind of confusing in this rec department stuff. There's this part-time salary that was $0 and then they spent $4,000 and now they're requesting $27,000, $26,000 and then the budget has got $19,000 for beach gate attendant. And under recommendation here, it says 4 seasonal part-time gate attendants stationed at the entrance gate. I know in years past, the rec department has asked for, they've been paying a gate attendant and that type of thing. And I had discussed with them on budget committee about kind of just automating the gate. For $19,000, I would imagine you can get a pretty nice electronically operated gate, which could then be opened with a code or a QR code, or maybe even just your tax bill ID. Just some easy way to give townspeople access, cut off access at particular hours. And that would be a one-time expense instead of what is, I guess, proposed here, which is an ongoing expense every year of paying 4 people to do it. Kind of the world's going the way of AI replacing humans and everything, but the town seems to be going the opposite direction. And instead of installing a simple machine, wants to hire 4 people to open and close a gate or check if people are town residents. That just seems a little bit wasteful to me. That's it. Otherwise, it seems fairly responsible. Thank you.
Any other members of the public wishing to speak while the public hearing is still open? Seeing none, I will close the town public hearing. Thank you all for attending. We will move on to next item on our agenda, which is meeting minute review. We have two. 1/6 and 1/8. Does anybody have any recommendations or edits, suggestions, changes to the meeting minutes as presented?
I did.
I should really just ask you to. I know you're going to.
You go first,
You would
Karen.
think I know this by now.
You wanna go with January 6th?
Let's start with the 6th. Yes, please.
Okay, in the area of 36, 37, we had discussed, in light of the proposed increase over being less than 4%, you know, was there anything missing? We had a whole discussion about that, but what is missing is that we also discussed keeping it as low as possible, like well below the 4%.
Mhm.
And I just want that to be reflected in here, cause otherwise it looks like we're trying to get up to the 4%. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, we're allowed 4%, let's get more stuff in there, and that's certainly not our
I
discussion.
think maybe changing that sentence, I think the way it was
Yes.
asked was just asking the town administrator whether there was anything that she felt was not covered by the proposed budget.
I'm not sure necessarily we need that in light of the
Right, in
proposed
light of
increase.
Right.
Would it make sense to just eliminate that, everything after the comma? I think that takes.
Well, I think
out
even
the-
saying discuss additions that could be made makes it sound like we're trying to add to the budget.
Exactly.
It wasn't actually, yeah, it was a good
It was
point.
more
It
like-
was what is missing.
Is there
What
anything that
that
you
It
feel
was
is
what was
missing?
missing, but I went back and I'm probably one of the only people that actually listened to go back on YouTube and watch the
Brave.
thing. Because it was separate later on that we then went back and had the discussion about, let's try to keep well under the 4%. And I just, how about adding, discuss the preference to keep the tax rate below the 4% as much as possible.
Sorry, so what exactly was the verbiage change?
I'd be careful about saying tax rate, cause it's
Yeah,
like a
yeah, yeah.
tax
Oh,
rate.
yeah. Just an addition right after default being less than 4%. I don't know if that's the right place either. Discuss the preference to keep,
I think it really was about the budget committee questioned whether there was any priorities that were being
yes,
eliminated from the budget because of the, 4% cap.
agree.
Yeah.
But then we had a separate from this, like a little, actually like another 20 or 30 minutes into it, we had the discussion about, let's try to keep it below the 4%. It just, when you read this, it's looking like we're trying to get up to the 4%.
Yeah, I understand what
doing
you're saying. I'm just struggling with finding the
Yeah.
right words.
Being
that would address it.
mindful of the 4% tax cap, the budget committee discussed whether or not there were any important items that were missing from the proposed budget.
Sounds good to me. I'm not gonna say anything better. And hopefully
that-
our scribe caught that.
Does that cover it for you, Karen? It doesn't, I know, but, yeah.
What do you propose?
Well, just that we discussed the preference to keep the budget below the 4% as much as possible.
With the goal of
Couldn't you put
keeping
that
the
as one?
budget below the 4%,
Yes,
the.
that would be better.
Yeah, with the goal of keeping the budget below the 4%. The budget committee did question whether or not there were important items that were
Left
left off
I
of the
like that.
proposed budget.
That feels better, thank you.
Working on it.
Now, can you repeat that?
No, I can't.
So that,
There-
no,
there's
I'm
more
gonna get
changes.
them all.
Yeah.
I'm guessing there's more. There's never
Ah.
just one.
No,
line 38,
Oh.
should say road instead of rotary.
That's the only one I caught.
That was the one I had too.
You took my one, Steve.
Good.
I did
Steve,
have- I
oh
did-
my god.
Karen, do you have
Wrong
anything
name.
else?
I do have another one, line 45, so cutting the hours for the town beach. The budget committee cannot change the hours or the amount proposed to cover 2 attendants as opposed to 4 attendants. So we talked about, let's get less attendance so it costs less, but we're not able to do that either.
Well, you can say the budget committee cannot change the hours or the amount of the warrant article. Which now they've moved it to the budget, so we can change it, but.
Yeah, right.
And, I guess while we're on that, it's still, I'm not clear on understanding that if it fails, the beach might not open. That has never been clarified.
If a warrant article fails, you can't, that's it, you
But
can't.
the distinction, no, the distinction is having gate attendance,
Mm-hmm.
not having the beach open or close.
That's still a policy decision by the board, and that's out of our
That's
hands,
true.
that's out of our purview.
Right.
So there could be the potential, the board could find other monies in other places and still hire.
No.
No, they can't
They can't do
hire.
that.
Not if the warrant failed, if it was a.
Right. They could just open it and let people go in.
That, and that's what we discussed was why the wording was so important for that warrant article.
We're not having it as a warrant article.
And the question to understand if it fails, does that mean the beach won't open? This is stating that.
No.
So maybe
Yeah.
it's changing this to say, the budget committee also discussed the importance of the wording and the warrant article to clarify whether,
Yeah.
if the
I don't think
warrant
we,
article fails, whether the beach would,
I don't think we discussed that.
We didn't.
I think we did, we said it would be,
I don't think
We
we
did.
Pounding that drum every meeting for.
It's Jim's big one, see,
So-
I can get your name right
That's all I
eventually.
got.
Jim's really hot on this one, so I do know for a fact, we talked about
Well,
it.
especially setting the precedent of what happens moving forward.
In that context.
Yeah, because we had also talked about like just the catch 22 of if you said you were gonna hire 2 or something like that, or 3, and then you couldn't hire, and
Right.
that it, you know.
Yeah.
When you start putting absolutes into an article like that, there's
Right.
gotchas.
Yep.
In addition even to, does it have an implication on other decisions like access to the beach?
So what would be the suggested wording change then?
The
I think, taking out understanding.
clarifying.
Also to discuss the importance of the wording in the warrant article to clarify. Do you just wanna say to clarify whether the beach might not open?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To clarify whether the beach might not be open.
To clarify if the beach opening is predicated on the warrant article.
Yeah.
You just want to use the word predicated.
It's a good word.
It is a good word.
It's a good one.
Isn't that the
Sorry,
correct-
Jill, I was making jokes about predicated, could you say that again?
I mean, I abstained because I wasn't there, but to, where I think that was going was to try to clarify the implications of the warrant
Word.
article wording.
Exactly.
Ooh, there it is.
That's it.
Clarify the implications.
That was my contribution.
Nicely
It's a good
done.
one. Thank you.
Implications of the wording. Perfect, okay. Excellent.
This is a tough one.
Yeah, that one is tough.
Every single time.
Minutes are tricky, I don't like them. More power to the poor woman who has to try to write all this down and understand what we say.
Karen,
That's it.
can I go?
Only if you don't have 400, what do
No,
you got?
I've only got one. And it was line 34, and it was the discussion about the relocation of the fire station.
Mhm.
And it's just, again, a clarification, because in line 34, it says, she noted the benefits of utilizing this location as a safety complex. but hadn't it doesn't specifically say in the minutes above that we're discussing,
The police station.
we're putting the
So,
police station at
How
the fire
about she
station.
noted the benefits of utilizing the current fire station
Location.
location.
Yeah, that's great.
I do have an edit.
Yes,
If I could get a correction on the spelling of my name on both sets of minutes.
I suppose that's
Phew.
probably important.
All
That's an
E's.
E, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. I only know that because I spelled it wrong the other day.
Yep, sorry, Beth.
Had to double check it. Eldridge, Eldredge. Excellent, okay,
I have one on line 80.
80? Yep,
I just would like to, I think I was just trying to say that they may be low, on line 80. Enrollment projections may be low.
I'll check some.
They speak to the future a little bit, not the current.
Yep. Excellent. Anything else? Nope.
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes of January 6th as edited, as amended.
Second.
Motion by Donna, second by, what do you want me to call you now? Jim? I could try calling you your name, Jim. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
I'm gonna
opposed,
abstain.
and one abstention, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for, 0 against, 1 abstention. 7, 0, 1, those minutes pass. January 8th minutes.
Karen, you wanna go first?
No.
All right, I only had one, line
I'll
46.
get your name again.
44, I guess. The Budget Committee discussed increasing the school's unreserved fund balance surplus to be better prepared for emergency expenses. Did we specifically discuss it that way? Because the way that written, it sounds like we said, hey, keep more money, which I don't believe that we did.
No, it was for,
I think it was the superintendent. not-
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of generally discussed that that number increased at the amount that the state allows carryover, right, from
Right.
year to year. I think that's what this is referencing, so.
But it sounds like we said,
Yeah.
Sue, your board should
yeah,
increase that
The
number.
budget committee discussed, how about discuss the potential.
I think
Wait,
the
no,
budget
'cause that still
committee
sounds
kinda
like-
We wanted to
discussed
say
the-
it was
the
noted the state,
process.
you know,
The superintendent said
And he
he
said-
recommends increasing it.
Right.
And then, I mean, we discussed,
The process.
we
then
actually talked
discussed
more
it.
about whether the towns.
Okay, we
we're gonna
could,
discuss
balance
whether
includes the school.
increasing the school's unreserved fund balance surplus to be better prepared for emergency expenses is prudent.
how about if we did the Budget Committee discussed the superintendent's recommendation to increase the school's unreserved fund balance, blah, blah, blah.
If it's prudent.
Yeah.
Think the prudent is helpful
Yeah,
to
yep.
add more generality to the discussion,
Yeah,
which it
yeah,
was.
yeah.
So discuss the supervision. So that would read, the budget committee discussed the superintendent's recommendations for increasing the school's unreserved fund balance surplus to be better prepared for emergency situations if it would be prudent. That doesn't read right. I'm missing a word somewhere. Hold on.
If prudent.
If prudent. The committee discussed the superintendent's recommendations for increasing.
I don't know that you even need that prudent, but
What about if necessary, if needed?
Prudent's a more fun word.
Well, it is a more fun word, but I don't know that it really fits. Prudent? Emergency is
Because-
prudent?
Budget committee
Because- well, our
discussed if it would be prudent.
Yeah, the discussion was kind of figuring out what sort of policy they wanted to go by for how much should really be in that fund to begin with. And then we got in the discussion of if the town's UFB can be drawn on in an emergency situation or not.
right, we really didn't talk about an amount in terms of whether.
No, we really didn't, but
So I
so
don't know
let's
that you
say
need-
how about, the budget committee discussed if the superintendent's recommendation for increasing the school's unreserved fund balance surplus to be better prepared for emergency expenses would be prudent.
Yeah, perfect.
That's good, and you got to keep the word prudent in there.
I like prudent, it's a good word. Okay, anything else, no, oh, I'll add that, Jill's name again, all E's, lots of E's,
So many E's.
so
back.
many E's. Eldridge, Eldredg, yep. Any other notes on the 8th? With that, I would entertain a motion to approve as noted.
So moved.
Motion by Donna,
I'll
second by Carol. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstaining, one abstention, so 7-0-1, it passes. Excellent. Any committee reports?
I have just one question. At our next meeting on the 21st, we're gonna be having the school district moderator present and our school district clerk and any budget committee members that would like to attend. We'll just be talking about our deliberative sort of process as the moderator sets it out for us.
Thank you, that is very good. The date on that again, sorry, could you
It's
repeat it,
the
20?
next Wednesday, the 21st. And we'll probably be getting to that, I think, around 6:40-ish. Usually lasts about 15 to 20 minutes. She just lays out her.
Plan, methodology, approach, all of that.
Yeah.
Excellent. I'll definitely put that on my calendar and hopefully I can make that one. I don't think any other committees have met. So I'll move on to new business. I sent out a sort of highlight summary form. Got a few comments back. I definitely, if you couldn't tell, was doing that one in a rush, so I definitely had some things in the wrong spot. We don't need to comment on the state's contributions to school taxes in the town part, and also it's probably good to label the town and school sections correctly. Few other things, Lincoln, you sent me some really good notes, thank you, I appreciate that, I'm gonna incorporate those. I was actually gonna change it into a long form, but in rereading it and looking at the bullets, actually, I kinda like the bullets. But that's just my engineering brain. I like everything as digestible as possible. The board's good with the bullets, I'll leave them as is and just refine the wordage and verbiage a little bit, make sure it's. No, they don't. I don't.
Can I just, there was, I'm sorry, I didn't
No,
send to you, and this is really being nitpicky.
go for it, pick the nits, that's what we sent it for.
And it was just like the two headlines, primary complications with the town budget, primary complications with the school. I just didn't feel like complications.
Use different words there.
Don't start with the negative.
I actually waffled on that word quite a bit.
Considerations?
Considerations is what I was
Considerations,
thinking.
that's a good.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Absolutely, I like
Yep.
that. Considerations not.
And just when you're listing the tax impacts, I was gonna suggest, instead of saying the town budget will have a 2.6%.
Cause you're right, it won't, this total town.
It's the
impact.
town warrant articles, I think.
Yeah.
right?
The town
which include the
warrant articles,
budget.
which include
Yeah.
the budget, you're right, yep, that's a good,
It's the same for the school.
yeah.
Although the school, I'm not sure. I don't know what number you're gonna use for that.
I
so
don't have the
It depends
number
on
yet.
which number you use.
Yeah, no, I know,
That one might actually be the budget.
that, the
is-
three that I
the
put in there as a
three is the
placeholder is the
budget,
budget,
yeah.
I was talking to Andy about looking at that, I know he was gonna look at it, we were gonna look at it offline.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that the Excel spreadsheets were giving us the numbers we wanted, so once I get that from him, thinking for an apples to apples comparison, I thought it would be good to present them both in the same way, which was budget and warrants, which, to your point, is just the entirety of the warrant, since the budget is one of the warrant articles, so I'll just make sure I reference them as warrants.
Do we wanna push, I think you have it in here, but like how much is rolling back from the state to the town every year and really focus on that? I think it's important, I think it's really important to highlight in light of this petition that came in for a school tax cap. Which say that passes,
Yeah, it's number one on the complications.
we're gonna be in a world of hurt.
Yep.
A world of hurt.
Yeah, that one's a complicated one too. I have some real reservations about trying to do it that way and doing the other tax cap the other
Well,
way.
the question I had on the tax cap warrant is you're legally obligated to educate your town's children. And so if you cap it, what happens?
Good question.
Especially, and I'm sorry, I didn't have enough time to read it and think about it, but if the state doesn't give us more or gives us less, what are we gonna do?
You are legally obligated
Right.
to educate the town children.
And the
Full
state
stop.
has
Like,
reduced tremendously over the years, their percent contributions. I was actually trying to find it when I was writing this up so I could word it a little better. And I didn't have anything that was really clean and definitive because of course the state toots their own horn and they show you the increase in money every year that they spend, but that is such a small incremental increase that it actually becomes a detriment when looking at the overall budgets, but it's hard to find that exact number. So I was trying to figure out a way to find that. Honestly, probably the best people who are gonna give us that number are coming in February.
Right.
And I owe this
some of their
next week, so.
the packets had numbers in it,
Did
like
they?
the cost, the contribution per child or whatever
Yeah.
from the state. I'm assuming those numbers are correct from them, but they
And
were
that
at
was
least
from
there.
that group you're talking?
That was from that group. There were numbers in there of X per child. I don't know if that was, actually,
Wonder if they
that might
signed
not
up
be
to
the
get it.
state contribution though. That might be the accepted cost per
Yeah,
student
that's
for
why I
education,
was,
yeah.
I was hesitant to put an exact number, cause I was really struggling to ensure I was right on an exact number, but I could work on the wording to maybe emphasize it a little more.
Has the adequacy
NPR
rate
did something
gone
this week, I'll go
It
back
did,
and
that's what I was
listen
just
to it,
looking
cause
for.
I
Maybe
think
when
that they
we-
had
when
some
we meet
numbers
again.
in there.
Did they have
for
some
us.
numbers? That would be,
I believe
if
they
I
did.
get
So we've
something
got-
that's
we've
defensible.
The adequacy money is probably what you wanna focus on, I just don't
Right.
know
That's
how
what
much
I
it's
think,
gone
that's-
down.
Because we
What he was
had,
talking
I
about.
just need to find the report on
And
that.
I think
because
there's
it's-
tables of
It's
like,
lower.
for each district, it shows
Yeah.
what the adequacy
Yeah.
rates are.
That would be excellent, yeah, if you could get me that, then I can put something to it that's a little more
Be specific,
appreciable of a
yeah.
number.
Yeah,
Or retirement, how much they've pushed back to the town.
That's a good point
Retirement.
too, yeah, contributions, the state contributions to the retirement.
Increase in the mandatory.
so there was a bill that was just, went to the House that it was initially about putting a tax cap on school budgets. And then then it got amended on the floor to just put a 6% cap on the administrative portion of school budgets, and that failed. So there has been discussion at the state level about caps on school budgets, but they have failed to date.
That'd be pretty ballsy of the state to put a statewide
No kidding, right?
cap on something they keep spending less money on.
Right?
That's
Right?
that's pretty
Right?
brazen,
Yeah.
but you know, whatever.
But
We
I
do
think-
stuff
I
a little
think you-
squirrely sometimes.
I think you're right in that you need to be very careful about what you say and that you can defend the numbers if you're going to use specific.
I'm gonna use numbers, I gotta make sure they're right.
Exactly,
Or a citable
So we
source.
can get them.
yeah.
Yeah, if there's a NHPR or whatever NPR story that says this is what it is, or we can look at, you know, adequacy aid percentages over the last 10 years has dropped X, then that's just a number, that's defensible.
I might have some numbers from New Hampshire Fiscal Policy Institute as well.
Whatever-
DOE
you guys can
themselves, New
find.
Hampshire Ed puts out their adequacy
Yeah.
by town, and you can look at it year over
Yeah.
year. And we do have it in our numbers here, so we can
Yeah,
even compare
good.
the last couple of years, so I can pull that together.
If you could pull that
Great.
together, that'd be great. I'm gonna work on trying to polish this up a bit this weekend. I'm gonna wait until we're done everything on Tuesday, to make sure that everything I'm saying is still accurate based on whatever changes we may make Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then I did get a week grace period, so I could turn it in next Friday instead of this Friday.
Do you wanna do it, is it easier for folks to just do it as a Google Doc where you can put comments live to you, or?
Yes. I can do that.
So,
I'm wicked comfortable with that, I don't know how many other people are.
you're not supposed to do that under the right to know.
Oh, that's a good point.
That's a good point.
You can send your edits to,
Me, but if we're all collectively working on a singular document, it
That's
could
essentially a
qualify as a
meeting.
quorum.
Creates a meeting.
Good point.
Those meeting things are tricky now in the digital age. It is a
Yeah.
hard application
It is.
that was not originally intended for how all of this was written up. Computers were not at the, you know,
Yeah.
forefront of people's thoughts when they're writing laws in the 18 and 1700s.
so can I ask, when is the deadline to change warrant articles? Cause it sounds like he was saying you guys could change the
I think,
warrant article.
we're gonna take off the one, I think it's number 8.
The tuition one? Or,
building, maintenance,
We're gonna add building,
building maintenance.
oh, you're taking
got
it
a
off?
current balance of 315, and we were gonna we proposed it writing the 75, but given everything that's happening, we're just
Oh, that's a
gonna-
good point,
wait
because
on
if we're
that.
having our discussion and voting next Tuesday, we should have the final wording
Well-
for warrant articles.
Well, I think he was suggesting that if we moved the
Sounds like it.
tuition money into the
There's,
budget, you would potentially remove the warrant
we
article.
put the, instead of, we wouldn't,
Yeah, that's different.
But do you have time to do that?
we were gonna put the warrant, we were gonna put 40,000 onto the warrant
With the
article
warrant.
Okay.
and take it out of the budget, so it's not in the multiple locations as you had all suggested, so if you,
Yeah.
if you.
So that could still be
That would
made.
stay.
Well, if you guys think that would work better, we're authorized, they authorized Michelle, Melissa and I to just do it, so I can just go home and get it done.
Wasn't that,
Sorry, that was gonna be my question actually, because I think in the ones you had printed out here, it's still 25.
Right.
And I was gonna ask, with the moving it out of the operational, are you gonna increase the amount in the warrant?
Yeah, we would put 40 there, so.
Should I just ask, what is the rationale for moving it all into a warrant as opposed to moving it out of the warrant and into the budget?
I think it's more the rationale that it's the,
I get having it the in one place thing,
right,
but
but I think it's more of that it would exist as a trust reserve type fund,
Yeah.
not
I
an
see.
operational
Just to
thing,
kind of
because
build
it's,
I
that.
see.
the whole point of it is to cover the case of the triplet high school students move into the town that weren't in the budget, because the budget currently allocates the tuition costs for the high schools on the actual numbers that graduate in May that are going into the fall.
So, not that necessarily we can probably, I don't even know the legality of a vote here, so I'm not gonna go for a vote. I'm gonna call for a consensus of opinion. Does the budget committee think that that makes most sense to pull it all into the warrant?
Well,
the
can I ask
concern
a
this
question
year
on
was that,
consensus of opinion, because I believe we had,
Are there any,
I think we have to show tallies on our.
Right, we're
Yeah,
gonna do
this
that
isn't the
Tuesday.
final vote.
Oh.
The
Yeah,
final
just
vote
are
will
there,
be
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
The way to do it is like, are there any objections to, or
Is
are
that how you state it?
is
Okay.
like, is there anybody opposed?
Okay,
to
is
that?
anybody opposed to moving it all to the warrants?
yes, this
Oh,
year,
okay, that's, I thought you.
this year, due to the discussion, that if it fails, then we're even further behind in that situation this year.
That's a good point.
But I would say in most years, so it's, students move in and out all the time, all during the year, and the superintendent explained last week that if they had to pull from that fund, they would wait till the end of
The
the
year.
budget year essentially.
Oh,
And it would
right,
have to
so
be,
you
so you'd have to have like,
In the budget, right?
taking into account move-ins and move-outs, you'd have to have enough move-ins, additional
Right.
students that can't be covered by whatever surplus exists.
Would actually break the budget
And then you would,
before you hit
yeah,
it.
so you'd have a
Right.
deficit situation before you would ever pull from that fund.
Yeah.
Right.
So I felt pretty strongly that it should go into the fund already exists, it was created a few years ago. It has some money in it. I think putting more money into it so that we don't have to put money into it every year and just build it up to a number where they're comfortable with. It covers
Yeah.
the 5 students potentially.
I think it was
That makes
also, it's funded from surplus is the
Right,
thing
right.
too, so it's a
Yeah, so
zero,
there's no
it's a
tax
zero
implications.
tax
Oh, that's right,
implication,
I'm sorry,
so.
I forgot that.
Which typically those pass.
Those pass, right, okay.
The risk is that there's not enough surplus.
retract
to
That's
Back to
fund
your
it.
objection.
Well, that's where
It's not
order
formal, we're
matters, so
just
I had
talking.
said, cause I think it was before you struck the building one, do you want to do that and move it
Move it.
further up?
Yeah.
So that you don't run into a funding issue, and that's really of like, what does the school board consider the order of importance, right? on
Yeah.
those?
Yeah, and that's all the article ordering. you guys
Which it
decide
is
Ultimately.
moved up now, right?
Yeah, it's clear.
Well,
Yeah.
8 got struck, so
Oh,
now
no, it's in here twice. No, that's the tuition agreement, sorry, it's not that.
So-
It is after the building.
But that's gone.
So the general.
Nope, nope,
Nope,
nope,
you got
I
an
haven't
objection?
spoken yet.
Okay. What you got?
My, and I think I expressed this opinion, and I'm not saying that I would like not vote for it because of this, but my thinking was that it should go in the operating budget, because you know that there is going to be some amount of that every year, and that we should be able to look at historical data and building growth in the town and be able to come up with some number that's reasonable. So that was my feeling as to why I thought it should be in the operating budget versus a warrant article.
I guess if they could show that every year there's at least, you know, I don't know how many it would have to be to justify putting it into the budget.
Yeah, it's not enough of a concern on my part that I wouldn't vote for the warrant article, but I believe that there should be enough historical data that you could at least make projections from.
Yeah,
But I
I think it
think-
might be that, you know, talking about the move-ins and the move-outs and the nets, it's
Right.
probably something that we could run a spreadsheet on, even just a quick.
If you looked at the
Exactly.
enrollment in September and
Yeah,
the enrollment in
exactly.
So we know what we're
June, but I
doing.
don't know if-
But again,
how
the idea-
quickly you could pull that together.
But again, the idea of the trust fund though is, it's not that it's supposed to be an operational thing. It's
It's
the,
supposed to be
it's the
something that
safety
carries-
net
It's the
for
exception.
that case.
Right.
Then you're taking money and you're putting it aside that
Yep.
you may not use, and that's, you know, you're taking it away from people,
You,
right?
right, but that, again, you're taking it away from people, but not for a zero purpose, like you're ensuring that like you're covering the, you know, legally obligated tuition to educate the high school students that are coming into.
No,
town.
I am in favor of funds.
Yeah.
You know, definitely in favor of funds, but again, that was just my opinion on this.
That piece though is where the guidance across all of these trust funds that, you know, the superintendent spoke to might be a good thing to put in.
What's the
Guide-
funding
What's a
target?
top
What's the
funding
far-
target?
Target, is it a percentage, is it
Yeah.
based on number of
Yep.
students into it, whatever
I
it
think
might
you
be.
should have some, I don't like the idea of calling it a cap. I think what you would need to
Guideline.
do is look at your student services section and get to a point where you feel like you have a safe number there, a proper number, so
Yep.
maybe a goal amount or something.
Yep.
Text her.
So if we're meeting Tuesday, you're not meeting, or you are meeting,
We're meeting Wednesday, but
you're meeting after we're meeting.
Yeah.
So we're voting on whatever the board is as of
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, basically, it was how it was represented today in the public hearing. I think essentially it needs to follow that where, you know, you more or less said, we're keeping this one item open, we struck this one. Like, we can't throw in something completely new after the public hearing.
right.
No,
right,
but
right.
we could reduce the budget amount, the budget line for the move-in line.
Yes.
And then they could adjust the warrant article because
Yep.
the final warrant articles aren't due till Thursday.
But, so if you're not meeting till Wednesday, then we're not gonna have your
They
votes.
made a motion that Melissa or I can do it.
Your,
No,
no,
you're
the
working.
No, we're not gonna have
Oh,
your
I'm
votes.
We need the board.
We gave you our votes. They
Do
were
we have
listed
them?
on there.
Yeah, they're
Oh,
in there.
Okay,
yes,
all right,
yes,
fine,
yes, yeah.
all right.
Everything,
On
Yeah.
this, there's no vote.
They're not,
well, we did definitely vote and it was
I thought I
You can
saw
get
them.
us
5-0
this.
on all of them. Yeah, we did
Oh,
Well,
vote.
they're on the sheet that I got.
They're on one of them.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
School board recommends.
I know I saw them today.
Okay,
I got a lot of paper
Oh.
in front of me.
Apologize, we
So,
should have.
wait, some of them say just tallies and one of them had a thing, so maybe they're
But
not on every
If
one.
they're 5-0,
that's fine then.
That's-
Yeah,
That-
we were,
that's fine.
we were 5-0
Okay.
on everything.
okay.
Yeah.
You haven't had any time to look at the one that came in from the citizens.
We had that, yes, we did have an opportunity to look at that, and we voted on that, we were opposed to that one.
You're opposed to that one?
Yes, and then
Okay.
on warrant article 3, the collective bargaining agreement, we didn't have tax impact until when you guys got tax impact, so we had voted on it, and it was 3-2, which is what you saw in your paperwork. So tonight, the prevailing side made a motion to reopen so those that voted in favor made a motion to reopen the vote, we had some discussion about it, and it is now 5-0. Okay, so there's still some conversation and concerns, but at the same time, the tax impact looks maybe better than we had anticipated, and so we're gonna move forward with that 5-0.
Excellent, thank you for the update.
Did you have the tax cap petition warrant article legal reviewed?
Yes, I spoke with Mr. Corey about that. He indicated he put it in for legal, and he's also submitted it for the review of the signatures.
Okay, and have you had
The feedback from legal was that the way that's written is okay.
Okay,
I think he said they were just waiting still to verify the signatures. I think that was the only thing left, he said. He said they were just waiting to verify the signatures, I believe.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
because you gotta make sure. So.
Yeah.
Is there any, do we talk about the comments we received today?
If you think it's pertinent today, yeah, and I mean, we can also talk about them on Tuesday. It's all part of, but we can talk now, we can talk then, it's whenever. Okay. I kinda was thinking I'd stew on them over the weekend, I took a bunch of notes and think about it.
I'll tell you, it's really uncomfortable not to be able to respond.
Yeah,
I know.
agree with that.
I just, then
What's
what's
the
the
point?
point? Yeah.
Well, I think we lose the, I mean, regardless, like, before you get to the point where you're responding to their opinions, there's a really good public education piece where people
Yes.
are just asking
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I apologize.
questions.
I just want to tell them. that
No, I
everything's
know,
going on.
I know I'm doing it different this year, and I'm
Yeah.
doing it based on legal opinions and advice. And public hearings are different than public comment sessions at meetings. They're very, very different. They're handled legally very different. They have different parameters typically. That's what I've been educated on. In a public hearing, you have to be really careful if you do answer anything, because it can be construed that regardless of how you answer, you're influencing that person and you then are infringing on their First Amendment rights.
I think even some sort of statement at the beginning, saying something like that helps to explain.
Okay,
And
I
that-
tried to say that, but I probably didn't articulate it very clearly. I was trying to explain the new system, but I will do a better job.
But the reason, why we're not responding, because of what you just said. But at the deliberative session,
Deliberative is a different animal.
okay,
Yeah, I think you do at some point have to answer as factually as possible.
because I think that's important to let people know that the
Deliberative is
deliberative
different than a
session
public
is gonna be
hearing.
different.
So here's my question though, and it might be kind of along the lines of what you were thinking, it's like, where do people get to ask questions?
They could have come to any of our
Any other
meetings.
meeting we had all
Well,
year
and
long.
some of those questions
My
were
answer.
framed for the governing bodies, not the budget committee.
Yeah.
The question about what are the school enrollments, that's a question for the school board or the
Right.
superintendent,
Right.
not for the
So-
budget committee chair.
So I get what you guys are saying, they can come to any meeting, right? But people don't, they don't have the time to come to every meeting. And I think it's just, we're doing a disservice if we don't offer a Q&A session. Because it's in the best interest to answer those questions to get the budgets to pass. So that's just my opinion.
And there was some comparison, I think, about like the commentary time at a school board meeting or a BOS meeting. But those are meetings of the governing bodies, and so they tell you not to engage in that kind of back and forth because you have to speak as a body. You can't just say, oh, answer it, I answer it, because you have to have some consensus with the group.
Yeah.
So that's why they discourage it. But here, someone's specifically asking a specific question to inform their opinion of a budget. I think must be some mechanism to answer it for them.
Well, I mean, you gave them a mechanism
Yep.
through email.
Yeah.
I sent my
but
personal email publicly in a meeting, I'm like,
I was thinking,
about that, actually.
I
It's
know.
on the town website, I think.
it might be, I mean, as soon as I started saying it, I said I'm an idiot and I'm gonna regret this, but honestly, as the chair, I'm fine with it. I honestly, if people have questions, I'm happy to answer them, it's just, I
Yeah.
was very specifically schooled last year in particular.
I get
Up
it,
to
just,
speed on that is not how the public hearing is supposed to
Gotta be.
work.
And then the perceptions immediately flip to some
Yeah.
negative,
Yeah,
derogatory
And the
thing.
person who schooled me on it
Yeah.
last year is the person who called me out on it this year.
Yeah, understood, but
Yeah.
it's an opportunity to, well,
One thing
Here
I
we
would
go.
say, there's concern sometimes about answering, like if it's your personal email and you're answering something outside of a meeting, there can be some exposure there.
yes,
So you might wanna get some kind of motion from the committee to, you're authorized to answer questions or to put, just because, we've seen that, maybe it was before you were on the board, but I saw that at SAU 44 where someone was answering and it came outside the purview of indemnifications and everything, and so it can get you.
Gotcha, no, that's a good point.
maybe you can answer through
I was, honestly, everything I was gonna do was redirect to either
Redirect to
Ellen
Lori
or
personally.
Cory, that was my plan.
Yeah, but I mean, we can cover you too,
Yeah.
with a motion, so.
Yeah, no, I would appreciate the motion if you wouldn't mind.
most of these are for the school anyway.
Yeah, the majority of stuff I wrote down was for the school.
So I would make a motion to authorize Chair Owen Friend Gray to respond to any emails resulting from the public hearing. And speak on behalf of the Budget Committee.
Second.
Motion by Sue, second by Carol, all in favor? I will abstain since it's for myself, so it'll be 701. Thank you, I appreciate that. All of this, we need to wrap back to the original question. Do we have, or do you feel comfortable with what you've been given for what you're gonna do with that warrant article for the versus the budget? Because we are gonna need
So
to.
I don't think, they're not gonna do anything till after we do our meeting on Tuesday, so if we end up changing the budget amount, they could.
Then you're gonna
They
change
essentially
it
could just
afterwards.
withdraw, it would just be withdrawing the warrant if they're gonna remove
Okay,
it
I
completely.
thought that it was
Or
gonna need to be
changing the
done in
amount.
advance,
I
I'm
think
sorry,
what
I
we
didn't
kind of
understand.
talked about was pushing 40 over into that warrant article instead,
Okay,
so.
so we'll talk about that on,
I
But
can-
that would mean we could zero out that, or reduce that
we
line.
can't change the
and-
amount in the warrant though.
No, but we can change the budget line, then they can change the amount or withdraw
Got it.
the warrant.
Got it,
Yeah,
I'm
to
sorry,
address
I understand the
the
process.
being all in one
Thank you.
location.
Yep, got it.
And I think to the point about using the budget for, you know, being almost to see the history of it, we probably should find another way to track that. Because this has been a long-standing conversation about the ins and outs of that.
Excellent. Any other new business? With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Donna, second by Karen, all those in favor?
Right.
Aye. 8:36, meeting is adjourned.